everyone. Welcome to this day in Philly Sports History for May 5th, 2024. I'm your host, Jim Montgomery. Welcome to a Sunday edition of the podcast. A rainy, dreary, chilly, more like a early spring than May Sunday. But as always, let's start with a recap of yesterday's question of the day. I asked you, what is your confidence level heading into the offseason of the Sixers front office getting this thing right? And 63% of you said, we'll see, kind of in the middle on whether they'll be able to do it right or not. Not one person voted for having high confidence, though, and I think that's pretty telling about the state of the front office and the state of this team. So we will see what happens as we get closer. But as always, thank you for participating in today's question of the day. There'll be another one later in the show. 267-495-8531. Get you in on the Back to the Future voice and text line. And I think I made some changes to the text line. I was getting a lot of calls, but nobody was leaving any messages. And I think it's because somehow it rang 6 times or something before it got to the voicemail. I changed that. It should go right to voicemail. So be sure to call in, leave your messages. Let me know what you're thinking. Also, check me out on social media. At Philly Jimbo on Instagram, Jimbo_Mont on X and Twitter and TikTok, and subscribe to the YouTube channel Jimbo_Mont. Tell your friends, tell your enemies, your kids, the baseball moms and dads that you hang out with, whoever needs to hear this, let them know. We have a lot of fun going on and lots of good things coming up on the horizon. If you're interested in information about the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame induction ceremony, as far as who is in and ticket information, the link is in the description. Also, if you want to be a sponsor or have anything that you'd like to donate to be a part of the auction, let me know that as well, and we will get you hooked up. All right, what a derby. And Jason Worth's horse, Notch, did not do so well. Came in 10th, and it's tough when you start in that first position and he immediately got stuck behind some horses and everything. But Derby is always fun, and it not necessarily a horse race guy, but going to I've seen a few live horse races. It's fun to be at. It's fun to just throw a couple bets here or there. So I mean, no harm, no foul, losing a couple bucks on Jason Worth's horse, but a three-way photo finish, and that was just amazing. The place we were out, it was just incredible. So Kentucky Derby, and in 2 weeks it'll be the Preakness, which is the biggest party. I've never been, but apparently it's just insane down there. So congrats to Jason Worth's horse for a 10th place finish, right in the middle of the pack. And I think he just had a crappy draw crappy post position, I should say. So hopefully he'll be able to step back and do something in the next 2 races. All right, what a game for the Phils. And it was raining pretty hard. And I thought at one point, I'm like, just get 5 innings in so we can just call the game and it'll be official. Because they were going to try to get that game in no matter what, since it was San Francisco. And then they just kept scoring runs. Batted around in the first, almost batted around in the second. Ultimately ended up winning 14-3. Alec Boehm extended his hitting streak to 17 games. They're now up a game and a half on the Braves. Let's keep it rolling. Ranger Suarez continues to be phenomenal. And I'm telling you, I want to see Philly Goat make the Go-Go Ranger Suarez shirt or something along those lines. There were red Power Rangers at Citizens Bank Park. I'm telling you, it's millennials who grew up on the Power Rangers, Phillies fans, Ranger Suarez fans. Everybody's going to get this shirt. But good outing. Wasn't his best. And again, this is now the 3rd straight start from a Phillies starter who has been okay. It was not his, but hands down, it wasn't his best start. I'm sure the rain had a lot to do with that. Had a little bit of a scare at one point with his leg that he was kind of like, it was hanging there. We were just like, oh no. But they get the win, increase their lead over the Braves. But the bad news yesterday was Trea Turner will be out 6 weeks with that hamstring injury from his score from the other night. Not ideal because if there's one position the Phillies are not deep in, and that is shortstop. So they're probably going to plug and play, whether it's Sosa. They brought up Cody Clemens. Whit Merrifield can play. But it's going to be hard to replace Trea Turner's production for the next 6 weeks or so. He's saying 6 weeks. Anything less than that would be great. Again, doesn't sound too promising, but I'd rather an injury like this happen now than September. So make sure he gets right, gets healthy, and we'll piece it together. But that leads us to today's question of the day. Can the Phillies survive the next 6 weeks without Trea Turner? Who needs to step up? That's why fixing the Back to the Future voice and text line is key. Let me know who specifically needs to step up. But the question is, can they stay afloat for the next 6 weeks without Trea, especially considering the Braves are not playing well and they can kind of increase that lead. Will the Phillies stay afloat? Yes or no? 267-495-8531. Get you in on the Back to the Future voice and text line. And bonus, let me know who needs to step up specifically. I think it's easy to say like somebody like Sosa or Clemens or Merrifield need to step up. But personally for me, I am looking at your MVP, Bryce Harper, really needs to take on that load, hit for a better average right now. He's getting on base, but you need him to sort of step up and set the tone and let that carry over to guys like Castellanos, who's another one that really needs to step up. But let me know who you think needs to step up, and will the Phillies stay afloat for the next 6 weeks? 267-495-8531. Get you in on the Back to the Future voice and text line. I've already mentioned Philly Goat. They need to come out with the Ranger Suarez shirt. But they have you covered with everything you need Philly related. They just released their London series for a limited time, getting ready for that London series in June. I've shown my wife some of them, and she was like, that is phenomenal. The Founding Fathers with the Fanatic with the powder wig. I am a really big fan of the British Blue of 13 Colony lead. If you want to get a little cheeky, as they say over in England, there's one that says, because they're playing the Mets, I'd scuff Mrs. Met, which is also a phenomenal shirt. But go check out these shirts. It's the London Series collection, here for a limited time. Order them now so you can get your shirts in time. If you're going over to London, or if you just want a cool shirt, get it done. That's phillygoat.com. Use the promo code Jim Montgomery for 10% off your order. That's phillygoat.com. Promo code Jim Montgomery for 10% off of your order. Go, go, Ranger Suarez. All right, Sixers news. Not really much. They're going to kind of, I think, at this point, fade back out of the conversation until at least the NBA draft. But thinking about it, I think three guys on this team that showed me some things that I would like to see back. It's Kelly Oubre, Cam Payne, and I'd still bring Buddy Hield back. I think giving him the opportunity to work with a healthy Joe and Maxey and everything, I think he brings some value, but the price has to be right. And those three guys all said they'd love to be back too. I don't know. Those three guys, and bonus question of the day, what do you think about those three guys? Should they bring them all back, none of them back, some of them back? Let me know, but we're going to be kind of fading our Sixers talk here until the NBA draft. Still disappointing. Again, they're going to suck me in again next year like they always do. But until then, we're going to kind of, unless the story breaks, we're kind of retired like we did the Flyers. The Sixers talk now has been kind of pushed to the side. It's sad. But you can still get your basketball fix. Check out my boys over at the Clashing Conferences podcast, wherever you get your podcasts, as well as on YouTube. If you're like me and just like to get frustrated and hear people talk trash on your team, you're going to love it. But Clashing Conferences podcast, wherever you get your podcasts, as well as on YouTube. Union had a 2-2 draw against DC United. They got picked up a point, but they need to start making their move up the Eastern Conference standings. They're back in action next week. Quick Eagles news. I did not see many reports coming out of rookie camp. Not that I expected to. I'm going to dig into that today, and we'll have sort of an update tomorrow. But they did sign, and I'm going to butcher this guy's name, but it looks like Lakin Vakahahi. He is a 300-pound Australian football player. project, kind of similar to Jordan Mailata. And who knows? I mean, if he gets half of the production that we got out of Jordan Mailata, that'd be great. Again, this is one of those Howie moves that kind of goes under the radar that nobody ever talks about, that it's like, oh crap, Howie. So we'll see what happens, and I apologize to him for butchering his name, but could be the next Jordan Mailata. And the Sixers or the Eagles, I should say, seem to always like get picks like that and signings like that right. So we'll see. Get him into Stoutland U and let him do his thing. But another Australian rules football player, 300-pounder, not even good. Laken Vakahahi. I don't know. But whatever. We'll see. Could he become the next Mailata? I sure hope so. All right. Phantoms are down 2-0 to the Hershey Bears. They lost last night. Game 3 is on Wednesday for get our hockey fix in. And again, the Flyers, we're waiting for the draft now as the playoffs roll on. All right. But sticking with the Flyers theme today, going back to the year 2000, and on May 5th, 2000, and actually this was kind of like a two-parter. I could have started this yesterday, but this game started on May 4th, but ended at 2:35 a.m. on May 5th, and is hands down the most insane game I've ever been a part of, ever witnessed in my life. The Flyers beat the Penguins 2-1 in 5 overtimes in the Eastern Conference semifinals. And I think everybody knows and has their memories about what happened in this game. But lost in it all is the fact that the Flyers, even this series, and the fact that it was a 2-1 game that could have gone either way, obviously going 5 overtimes, if they would have went down 3-1 to the Penguins, this whole series would have looked a lot different. But instead, it was Keith Primeau hitting the game winner 12 minutes into the 5th overtime. John LeClair scored their other goal 4 minutes, almost 5 minutes into the 3rd period. Brian Boucher had 57 saves, but that was nothing in comparison to Penguins goalie Ron Tugnut had 70 saves in this game. And again, it ended up propelling the Flyers. The Penguins were never able to recover. Flyers won the next 2 games, moved on to the Eastern Conference Finals, where they would eventually blow the 3-1 lead to the Devils, marking the end of the Eric Lindros era. And this is one of those teams I followed so closely. But on this day in 2000, the Flyers beat the Penguins in 5 overtimes. And it just was, like I said, the most insane game. Everybody kind of knows where they was. This was one we were doing a Pollyanna for some of the guys that were graduating, where everybody brings a bottle of something. We just sit around, tell stories. And it was one of those times we had the game on in the background, and I feel like we went through the entire storytelling portion. I got drunk, got sober, got drunk again. Like, it was just insane, but it was like a 6-hour game. Like, it just incredible. And it really did. I think a lot of times it gets lost in there. It propelled the Flyers, because if they went down 3-1, who knows what may have happened. But on this day, it was the 5 overtime game winner on a game that started on May 4th, ended on May 5th. And the Flyers, again, though, ultimately ended up losing to the Devils 3-1, or 4-3, blowing that 3-1 lead in the Eastern Conference Final. All right, finally today, it's a family affair, and today we're going to look at Tim Worrell, a relief pitcher who played a year and a half roughly for the Phillies in 2004-2005. Primarily was the setup man for Billy Wagner. Had a pretty solid career. He was solid for the Phillies, and those teams just were... They weren't necessarily like contenders. They weren't bad. Like, it was just a rough time to be a Phillies fan. But we knew at that point they were on the cusp of greatness with the Citizens Bank Park getting ready to open and everything. But Worrell had a solid career, 14 years, 3.97 ERA. However, this is a case of the time that the Philadelphia team had the wrong brother. Tim is the younger brother of relief pitcher Todd Worrell, who pitched for the Cardinals as well as the Dodgers. Only pitched 11 years, but had 256 career saves, 3-time All-Star, Rookie of the Year in 1986, the Rolaids Relief Man of the Year in 86. And remember Rolaids? Like, that was like one of the big sponsors for sports was Rolaids. How do you spell relief? Rolaids. But I don't even know. Are Rolaids even still around? And now everybody does Tums and things like that, and what is Pepsid and all those other pills. But are Rolaids still around? They used to come in like a little anyway. But Todd Worrell was the Rolaids Relief Man of the Year in 1986. He led the league in National League in saves 2 times in 1986 and then again in 1996. So he was very solid throughout his career. Cool factoid: Tim and Todd both had saves on the same day in 1987, becoming the first brothers to ever do that. And then Tim's nephew Josh, Todd's son, played in the Royals farm system for 3 years. But today's Family Affairs Spotlight is Tim Worrell, a relief pitcher for the Phillies in 2004-2005, primarily as the setup guy for Billy Wagner. But he is overshadowed by his older brother, Todd, who was an all-star, Rookie of the Year, and just a solid saves guy for the Cardinals and the Dodgers. On this day in the year 2000, the second, or I guess Game 4 of the Eastern Conference semifinals ended at 2:35 with the Flyers beating the Penguins 2-1 in a 5-overtime thriller. Just insanity, absolute insanity. Never before have we seen anything like that, or at least I haven't. And again, like, it was one of those things, you're sober, drunk, sober, like, it was just insane. But what a fun ride that was for the Flyers. That game concluded on this day back in 2000. Be sure to let me know your answer to the question of the day. Can the Phillies stay afloat without Trea Turner for the next 6 weeks? Yes or no? And then let me know who needs to step up. 267-495-8531. Get you into the Back to the Future voice and text line. Phils hopefully will get their game in today against the Giants, depending on the rain. Doesn't look like I'm going to get some yard work done today, so you might see me in a little bit of a different spot tomorrow if you watch on YouTube. Might do some rearranging, but we'll see. Go have yourselves a Sunday. Stay dry out there. Stay warm. This has been This Day in Philly Sports History. I'm Jim Montgomery, and until next time, I'll see you when I see you.